Hello everybody, Drifty here from Driftwood Gaming, and in this RPG Maker Envy tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a farming system in your game. If you like games like Harvest Moon and stuff and games like that, then you'll probably want to incorporate something similar to this system. Now, this is such a long tutorial that I'm going to show it to you the end result first, and then I'm going to walk you through how to do it. So let's take a look at our farming system. We've got 5 plots that we could use to farm. If we try to plant a seed here, we have options. In this system, I've set up 12 different things that you could grow. But if we try to plant a seed and we don't have any seed, it's just going to tell us that we don't have any seeds to do that. So in this box, I put a few items. I put one of each seed. I put 50 tonics that we're going to use with the alchemy guide to craft stuff with the stuff we farm. So we've got our tonics and we got one of each seed. Let's plant some seeds. So I've got 4 different tiers of how long it's going to take. The first tier will take about 45 seconds from beginning to end. This one will take twice that, so a minute and a half. The third tier will be about 3 minutes, and the fourth tier will take about 6 minutes to fully grow. Now you can change these numbers when we get into the common events. I'll show you how easy it is to change how long you want each to take to grow. But basically, this would start over again. So now this would be 45 seconds, a minute 30, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, and the same thing for the green ones. So how I've got my stuff, my plants set up is these 4 will be used to make like health potions. The blue ones will be used to make like MP potions, and the green ones will be your TP, or in this game, LP type potions. Of course, you could customize that to your liking. So let's plant this one. Tells us we planted the seed, and check back later, we'll be able to harvest that. If we check it again, it's going to tell us the current progress and how long it's going to be approximately. It doesn't give us the time, but it tells us the current percentage. So this 45-second one is already growing pretty fast. Let's plant some other while we're waiting. So if we check on this one, we can see it's 61% done. And it's important to note when the timers are actually continuing to go. So the parallel process events are taking place while the show text is up. So if we check it again, it should be a lot closer. Yeah, it's 90%. The parallel processes will stop if you go into the menu. So right now, time has basically frozen. So if we keep it in the menu, there'll be no progress made. The same thing happens while you're in battle, I believe. So if you're in battle, or if you're in your menu screen, then all of your plants are not currently growing. But we can see that the image changed colors when we've fully harvested it, or when it's fully grown. So we can harvest it now. So we can try to harvest that. It tells us we got 2 cliffweed. So we can, the amount of final product you get is randomized from 1 to 3, and you can set that up however you like. It also increased our farming skill. So how long it takes is based off of a skill. And the higher your skill level, the faster everything is going to grow. So we planted those. Let's try the cinder petal now. You can check that one's 78%. This one's 38%. This one's 19%. Let's grow something else here. Let's do a storm vine there. So I put a skill cap on the farming skill in this system. It's 1,000, but you can have it up to any number you want. And basically every skill level is going to add 1 more to that variable. I'll show you more when we get into the parallel process events. So this one's done. We can harvest this. We got 2 mercy leaves. Farming skill is going to go up consistently 1 for every time you finish harvesting one of your plants. You can change that too if you like. It's important to note too that you can leave the map. You can go on other maps. The time is still ticking by. The parallel process event is still happening. The plants are continuing to grow if you're on another map, which would, seem like it should. But time will stop if we go to the menu, or time will also stop if we go to the battle screen. So while you're in battle and while you're in the menu, time is currently stopped. 171%, 7%. 74%, 36%. So that's basically the system we're making. When we finally get our final products, you can see in the description what they make. And since we have the book that we need, the alchemy guide, we can actually access the synthesis menu and see the stuff that we've got available. Whatever's grayed out, we're not able to make because we don't have the materials. But we do have the materials for some of them, so let's craft some healing tonics. Tonics of focus. And this one seems to be an error on the recipe for that, so I'll have to fix that. It just shows tonics instead of a... It's probably just a typo right there. High tonic of energy. Okay, I'll check that out right now. But that's basically what it looks like in game, and then you'll be able to use your potions. And you notice that time is frozen while we were in the menu, so it's not continuing the parallel process. Now, forewarning, organization is key. It's very important to be organized when you're making a system like this. I'm going to show you the events, but don't let that scare you off. It's just a lot of little things. So let's look at our common events first. What you really want to do is have a vision. Let me bring my notepad over here. Have a vision of how many different herbs you want to be able to grow. And then when you put them in your database, put the number next to it. And then for each particular plant, you want to have a seed item as well. So put that number in the database and or write that number in your notepad for what it is in the database. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to assign one variable for seed type. And we want to allocate a variable number for that seed type. So that way we don't, instead of 12 switches, we just use one variable. So we're going to use a seed type number for that one, and that one, and that one. So organize your stuff on a notepad, get a little bit of a vision on what you, how many different items you want to craft. So before we do that, let's go to our items. It would make a lot of sense if you wanted to copy this exactly like I'm doing, except change all the names up. So if you're not currently using items 350 to 374, you can probably go here and just type placeholder names. It's okay to use placeholder names like plant 1, plant 2, plant 3, plant 4, and then change them up as you get more creative ideas. So I'm using these items 351 to 374, and we see we've got 12 items. And I've organized them so that they're one after another. If you look at the description, you see that this item is used with the crafting book to craft item 171 and 172, 73, 74. If we go to these items, these are what I'm crafting, the potions, and they're all in order. So this would be the first plant, second plant, third plant, fourth plant. So I've just organized my database a little bit so that it makes it easier when you're trying to use a lot of different note tags at the same time. So to start off, we'll go to our items and we'll add all of our plants. In this case, I'm using 12. You don't have to use 12. You could use more or less. But for every plant you make, you're going to make a seed item as well. So just do that. Make your 12 plants. Make your 12 seeds. It would be a good idea to use the same numbers if you're not already using those. Once you've done that, let's go to our common events. We want to allocate all of the variables we're going to be using and all of the switches we're going to be using right from the beginning. So you're going to need one common event for each plot. Now, what is a plot? I'm calling a plot one event. So you notice I could have 5 plants growing at the same time. So this is 5 separate common events. So we've got 5 plots, so we're going to have 5 common events. So we want to do that first. Let's allocate our variables. So we'll insert, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to control variables. So we'll go to insert new, control variables. And we're going to, if you're not using these exact variable numbers, it might be a good idea to use these for this system. You could always use different ones, but then referencing them, just make sure you're referencing the right ones. So for 48, we've got farming percent current status. Now, even if you're going to have one plot, you're going to need this, one farming plot timer, and one seed type, plot one seed type variable. So we're using 5 variables for the first plot, and then we're just adding 2 variables for each plot after that. So for 48, we're using farming percent current status. This is the variable that's going to spit out our our percentage of how much time has passed and how far along the growth process is. So the player has an idea of about how long they should expect it to take. For 49, this is our farming skill level. This is what's going to add to how long it takes. So the higher your skill level, the less time it'll take to fully grow your plants. This is a random amount. You can get rid of this one variable if you want to have it so that every time you harvest, it's exactly the same number of crops. If you want that, then you can eliminate this variable 50. But it'd be kind of a cool idea to have a little bit of variance, so you can get 1 to 2 to 3 or maybe even 4 or 5 different plants. So just allocate that one, call it random amount, and then 1 through whatever. So here's where it starts. We're going to do variable 51, farming plot 1, timer. And then if you're going to have 5 plots, you'll do the same thing. So plot 2, plot 3, 4, and 5 timers. And then you're going to have one seed type variable for each of your plots. So you'll have plot 1 seed type all the way down to plot 5 seed type. Get your variables set up right now, and that'll make it easier later on if you put them one right after another. Trust me, organizing this is going to be a big difference. So we've got our variables set up. What we're going to do is set the plot, farming plot 1 timer, to add a random amount between 200 and 300. So every frame it's going to add 200 to 300 to that variable amount. Underneath that, this is where our skill is going to come into play. We're going to control variables again. We're going to use that farming skill level variable, and we're going to add that. We're going to add our farming plot 1 timer. We're controlling our farming plot 1 timer by adding our farming skill level to it. So we're controlling a variable, adding our skill level variable. So right off the bat it's adding 0, but once you start farming it's going to add more to it. Underneath that we're going to do a conditional statement. So we're going to right click, insert new conditional branch, and we're going to say plot 1 seed type equal to 1. Inside of that we're going to do another conditional statement saying if farming plot 1 timer is greater than or equal to 720,000. Now that may seem like a lot, but if you're adding 2 to 300 every frame and there's 60 frames a second, that number is going to add up very, very quickly. So 720,000 is basically going to take you about 45 seconds or maybe a minute. So we'll do that. So if the timer's past that amount, what we're going to do is we're going to control the switch. This is going to be we're going to control the switch and turn our farming plot 1 done. So if we haven't set up our switches yet. So let's set up our switches right now. We're going to set up 10 switches. You're going to need 2 switches for each plot. So we're going to make farming plot 1 start, farming plot 2 start, 3 start, 4 start, 5 start, farming plot 1 done, farming plot 2 done, all the way down to farming plot 5 done. So on this particular one, we're setting farming plot 1 start. Farming plot 1 done on. Underneath that, we're going to control another switch. We're going to turn off the start one. So we're turning the done on because the timer's been completed, and we're turning off the start. For this common event, we're setting the trigger to parallel, and we're making so that this has to be farming plot 1 start. That way, when we start the common event, it starts the timer. When the timer's reached the amount that it needs to be, we're saying that we're turning the switch done on and we're turning the start timer off. And then underneath that, we're going to set the variable back to 0. So we're going to control variables. We're going to control farming plot 1 timer, set it to 0. And that's it for the first seed type. We're basically going to copy this and then paste it. So all you're doing now is changing the seed type. So plot 1 seed type equals, instead of 1, now we're setting it to 2. And then we're changing the timer. So this timer is twice the duration of the last one. So it's just basically 720,000 times 2, which is 1.44 million. Like again, it seems like a lot, but it adds up really fast. So we're saying if this one is greater than or equal to 1.44 million, then do what's in the contents. And in the contents, it's the same as the last. We're turning farming plot 1 done on. We're turning farming plot 1 start off. We're setting the variable farming plot 1 timer to 0. Copy that, paste that again for 3. Do the same thing. You're just changing the seed type from 2 to 3. You see, you're going to be doing a lot of copy pasting, and it's going to save you a lot of work. So it seems like a big common event, but you're just going to copy paste a lot of it. So change the timer to whatever you want it to be. In this case, this is the third tier. So we're making that double 1.44 million, so it's 2.88 million. Once again, we're doing the same thing. You won't even have to change this if you copy pasted it. But what it's doing is turning the plot 1 done on, turning the start off, and setting the timer to 0. Copy and paste that, doubling it one more time for the tier 4. So now we've got 5.76 million in the timer, greater than or equal to, and all that should be the same. Now on seed type 5, it starts over at tier 1 again. It's just a different type. So you can basically copy seed type 1, paste that underneath the 4, and all you have to do this time is change the seed type to 5. Then you can copy 2, paste it underneath that, change the seed type to 6. Copy 3, paste it underneath that, change the seed type to 7. Copy 4, paste it underneath, change the seed type to 8. Do the same thing again, copy 1 or 5 because they're identical. And then paste it, change the seed type to 9. The same thing for 10, 11, 12. And it's basically just 4 different events. The only thing that's different is the condition of seed type. So the only thing that should be different between those 3 ranks, 3 different things, is the seed type. Once we've done that, we're going to copy that, paste it underneath here, and change the name to farming plot 2. Same thing, parallel process, except we're using the other switch, farming plot 2 start. Now what we're going to do is change all instances of plot 1 and timer 1. Everything that says 1, we're setting it to 2, except for the seed type. Seed type will still be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 12. So we're going to right click here, edit this one, farming plot 2 timer, random, 200 to 300. Farming plot 2 timer, increased by farming skill. If plot 2 seed type is 1 instead of plot 1, then we're going to say farming 2 timer greater than this number. We're changing this switch to farming plot 2 done on, farming plot 2 start off, farming plot 2 timer variable to 0. So you can see that we're just doing a lot of copy pasting and then changing from 1s to 2s. And if you named everything appropriately, this is very easy to do. It's just a little bit of work. So copy that, paste that underneath there. Actually, you've already copied from here to here, so you have all this. So you don't have to do that. All you do is change everything from 1 to 2 all the way down. I hope that makes sense. It's pretty easy to understand. You're just changing all instances of 1 to 2. And I'm repeating it a lot, and I'm going slow because I know this can seem convoluted, but for its level of complexity, it's pretty simple. You can copy and paste that for each plot you want to do. If you look at the numbers here, we've got 1 all the way down, then we've got 2s, we've got 3s, we've got 4s, 5s. The only thing that's different is the seed type stays the same. So plot 5 seed type 1, plot 4 seed type 1. You see how the seed types are going 1 through 12. I mean, so that's the similarity there. But everything else will be changed. The timers. Okay, I think I've spent enough time on the common events. Leave a comment below if that confused you at all. So once we've set up our items and we've set up our common events, we're good to go. Alternatively, or optionally, I mean, you can add text colors to your items if you want to. This is completely optional. If you do want to do this, you'll have to get Yanfly's item core. So I'll put a link in the description below to where you can get everything that I used in the making of this farming system. Alright, let's get to it. We're going to do the first plot now. So in this first plot, we're going to create a new event. We're going to call it farming plot 1. Right off the bat, we're going to show choices. It's going to say plant a seed here, or not right now. Default choice 1, canceled as 2. Underneath that, we're going to show choices. So here's what we're going to be doing. You can either just type in the name of the plant, or you can reference the item ID. Let's go back to this notepad. This is where this little simple text document that you made comes in hand. So I know if I want to reference the cliffweed, I know it's data items 351. So when I'm going /II, I can put 351 right there. This right here, the C in 25, is just the color code. So I want to make this color like a pink or a red. So I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to go II 351, and then I'm going to change the color back to normal. You can get rid of this /C and this color code right there if you don't care about having it color coded. So that's optional as well. And this is how you would make it look like, show the picture and then the name. So it would show the branch looking root icon, and then it would say cliffweed. You would do the same thing for the next one. For the third one, the fourth one, all the way down to 6. What we're going to do right here is just default on the first one, and the cancel will be on branch, because we're going to allow the player to press escape to get out of the menu. You're going to need another plugin if you're going to use more than 6 types. So I'm using 12 types, so I've got 2 sets. Right underneath that show choices, I've got another set of show choices of the next 6. So this is a HemiWorks' Large Choices plugin. I'll put a link in the description below so you can get that plugin as well. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm just referencing the icon. That way it looks like it's colored, and it shows the icon, and it just looks better. For the default on the second one, we're going to say none. Cancel is going to be branch. That way it starts on the first one, and you can press escape to get out of the menu. Now underneath the first option, if they've selected the first one, we're going to do a conditional branch. We're going to do a right click, insert new conditional branch, and we're going to see if the party has the seed for the cliffweed. So we're going to create an else branch on that one. We're going to create a new conditional branch, go over to tab 4 on item, the seed item that we created for the first item. We're going to check if they have that with the conditional create else branch. Underneath that, if they have it, we're going to be able to take it away from them. So we're going to do a change items, removing that seed. We're going to control variables, and we're going to control the plot1 seed type variable, and we're going to set that to 1. Remember not to add, we're setting it to 1. Underneath that, we're going to control switches, and we're going to control farming plot1 start on. Once you've done that, we're going to show text and tell the player that we've planted item number 363, which if we reference our seed ID, sorry about that, it's showing that it's the cliffweed seed ID. This notepad is going to be real helpful when you're referencing text. And then you can say come back later to harvest your item 351, which is the cliffweed. On the else handler, we're going to say you don't have any item icon 363, which is the cliffweed seed. So basically you're going to copy this whole conditional and paste it underneath for when they take the second choice. This time you're going to change the conditional branch to see if the party has the second plant, in this case the mercy leaf seed. With the create else branch, it should already be checked. You're just changing the item. Then we're going to take away that item so that these two match. The seed for mercy leaf, if they have it, take away 1. Control the variables. The same variable, plot1 seed type now is set to 2. Not add, but set to 2. Then we're going to control the same switch, farming plot1 start on. Let the player know that we planted this item. Come back later to harvest this item. On the else handler, you don't have any of this item. Copy, paste that for the third choice. The same thing is going to be happening. All you're doing now is just changing from the second item to the third item, removing the third item, changing the seed type to 3, set to 3. We're controlling the same switch, farming plot1 start on. Telling the player you planted this, come back later to harvest this. Else handler, you don't have any of that. Copy paste that for the fourth one, copy paste that for the fifth one, the sixth one. All you're doing is changing the item, and you can see that the plot seed type is increasing each time, but the same switch is being turned on. So for the seventh one will be seed type 7. We're checking if they have this item, removing that item, setting the seed type to that, so forth and so on. Do that for all 12 items or however many number of items that you have. Once you've done that, what we're going to do is go to page 2. So if you notice at the end of each option, if they had one of these items, We remove the items, we control the variable to set it to a certain type, and we turned on a switch. So this farming plot 1 start switch is now on. So on the conditions for the second page, farming plot 1 start on is the switch condition. So we check that and make sure that this is farming plot 1 start on. If that's on, then we're going to do what's in here. So inside of here, all we have is 12 conditional statements. So in the first conditional statement, we're going to right click, insert new conditional branch that says if plot 1 seed type equals 1. So we're basing it off a variable. If plot 1 seed type is equal to 1, we don't need any else branch. Then do this. So we're going to control variables. Our variable number 48, the farming % current status, equal to farming plot 1 timer. Then what we're going to do is multiply that timer by 100. So we're controlling that same variable, farming % current status, but we're going to set it to multiply by 100. So that'd be the MUL, the mul. Constant of 100. Underneath that, we're dividing that, so we're controlling the same variable a third time, variable number 48. Divide that by the timer. So in this case, it's 720,000. So if we go to our common events, we can see that our timer for the first one is 720,000. So we're going to divide it by that number to get the correct percentage. So once we've done that, we're going to do a simple show text, and we're going to say you planted this item. Once again, the color coding is optional. So is the item icon. You can just straight type the item if you want to. And it's currently, this color coding is optional. You can do the variable now. So we're going to do a /v and then the number 48 for our variable 48, or whatever number you used for farming % current status. And then just type in a percentage. It's done. So it'll say you planted whatever item, and it's currently whatever % done. Really simple. Copy that, paste it right here. The only thing you're changing now is the seed type. So this variable, if plot 1 seed type is equal to 2, then do all of this and adjust the division number by the timer for seed type 2. Once again, we'll go to our common events to double check. Seed type 2 timer, 1.44 million. So in the event for the seed type 2, we're controlling it we're controlling it by the current timer. So farming % current status times 100. Farming % current status divide by the number, the timer in the common event. In this case, 1.44 million. It's the same text right here, except this time it's going to be a different item. So this is seed type 2 means they planted the second item. So instead of 363, it's 364. And it's currently, this is all the same. The only thing that changes from here to here is the seed type and the item icon. Everything else is the same. And the timer. And the timer. Copy that, paste it here. The only thing that's changing right here is the seed type number, the timer count, and the item that it's waiting on. Do the same thing for all 12. So I basically did 4. And then I copied those 4 and pasted them underneath. Changed the seed type and the item. Changed the seed type number and the item, and so forth all the way down. Once I had 8, I copied 5 to 8, pasted them underneath, changed 5 to 9, changed the 6 to 10, and that's all I really did except for changing the one number in the item icon. Do that for all 12. Once you've got that set up, we're going to go to page 3. On page 3, we're going to control our random amount variable. This is an optional variable. If you would like the reward system to be a set amount each time, you can bypass that, but it's super easy. You control a variable, the random amount, and you set it to a random number between 1 and 3, or however many items you want it to give. We do that right at the top. That way we don't have to do it inside each of the conditional statements. Underneath that, we're going to say your plant is fully grown and it's ready to be harvested. Do you want to harvest it now? So we give the player an option. The simple yes and no will work. Harvest the plant or not yet. If they say harvest the plant, now we're going to check, well, what seed type is it? So we're going to do a conditional statement. If plot 1 seed type is equal to 1, then we're going to do this. Change the items for type 1 by the random amount variable. So it'll give us 1 to 3 of these the first plant, the clipweed. We're going to show an animation. That's optional. I think it's kind of cool to add a little bit of sparkle to it. Then we're going to let the player know you've successfully harvested variable 50, which is the random amount. So this is telling you how many you got. 1 to 3. That'll always be 1 to 3, depending on what you set right there. And then color coding is optional. And then item icon 351. Once again, we can look at this. 351 is our first item. And now what we're going to do is our conditional statement to control our farming skill level. So here's where you can control the level cap. So think about how many levels you want your players to have right here. I've thought that having level 1000 would be plenty, because you're getting 200 to 300 added to the variable every frame. So every second is 60 frames. So we'll average that out, 250 times 60. So every second that passes, 15,000 is being added to the variable. Now, if at max skill, 250 plus 1,000, multiply this by 60, every second, 75,000 is being passed. So at 1,000 skill, it's cutting the time down by a lot. It's a fraction. So at max skill, you'll be able to harvest in like 8 seconds for the low tier, and then 16 seconds, 32 seconds, and like a minute for the 4th tier. You can change these numbers if you like to. So we'll do a conditional statement. Our farming skill level is less than whatever your cap you want it to be. If it is, we're going to show we're going to control variables and add constant of 1 to our farming skill level variable, in this case 49, and let the player know that we've added, color coding is optional, your farming skill is increased by 1. It's now at, show the variable for your farming skill level, and our variable is 49. So this won't happen if they're at 1,000. Once they're at 1,000, this won't even happen anymore. They're capped. Underneath that, you're going to do a control switches. Farming plot 1 done is set to off. We're going to control variables. Plot 1 seed type is now set to 0. That way, this might not even be necessary since we're resetting the plot type every time. But it's a good fail-safe just to reset this to 0 so it doesn't have anything. I think it's just a good idea to include this. Control variable plot 1 seed type variable to 0. Just set it to 0. So once you've done that, you can copy that and paste it underneath, directly underneath. So if plot 1, now we're changing the conditional. So if plot 1 seed type is equal to 2. Now we're changing the item, the mercy leaf, by the random amount. Once again, we can reference our note tag. What is seed type 2? Oh yeah, we wrote this one as our seed type 2, so we'll award that one. We're going to show a little flashy flash. Let the player know that we've successfully harvested. This variable is our random number for 50. And then the color coding is optional. Item icon 352, and we can go back to here. Dang thing. 352, which is our mercy leaf. And then this will be exactly the same. You won't have to change that at all. So all you changed was the seed type, the item that was awarded, so the player knows what he got. And now we're changing the control switches. Actually, these are the same, exactly the same. Farming plot 1 done, off. Variable plot 1 seed type 0. That's why copy pasting is your friend. You could just copy this whole thing now, paste it underneath for this one. Edit the conditional, so now plot 1 seed type is 3. Change the item that you're awarding to the 3rd one. Change the text to the next item icon. This is all the same. This is all the same. Paste that. Same thing. Change the type to 4. Change the item. Change the text. It's all the same. Do the same thing all the way up to 12 or however many items you have. And my friend, you're done for your first plot. So save your game, copy this entire event, paste it next to it. So now in the second event, you're changing all instances of 1 to 2. So it's not as easy as just pasting it 100 times. You're gonna need um, you're gonna need its own common event, everything. So every time you do one, you have to allocate two more switches, two more variables. You know, I want to make sure I covered this. On this second page, or on the third page, we have to make sure that the conditions for this page are plot 1 done. So on the first page, we have no conditions. The second page, we have our farming plot 1 start, which is 51. On our third page, we have farming plot 1 done. Checked. So make sure your conditions are set right. So we've copied this entire event over. So now we're going to change the number here, farming plot 2. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I'll go through a little bit of it to show you what you would change. So this time, what we're going to be doing, everything will basically stay the same, but where it says plot 1 seed type equals 1, you change this to plot 2 seed type equals 1. Farming plot 1 start on will turn into farming plot 2 start on. That will all stay the same right here. Underneath here, you do the same thing. So you change this to plot 2 seed type equals 2. Farming plot 2 start on. Farming plot 2 seed type is now 3. Farming plot 2 start on. Plot 2 seed type is 4. Farming plot 2 start on. So forth and so on to 12. On page 2, all you're changing is this common event, or I'm sorry, not the common event, this is conditional statement. So now you're saying instead of plot 1 seed type is 1, you're saying plot 2 seed type is 1. And you're also changing this one from the percent current status, farming percent current status, you're adding, instead of farming plot 1, you're adding the 2 timer to that one. This will stay the same. That would stay the same. On this next one, you're going to say plot 2 seed type is 2, and then change this so it's adding farming plot 2 timer in the variable. Same thing for this one. Plot 2 seed type is 3. Change this so that your farming percent current status is now being added by a variable of your farming plot 2. Same thing. So copy that for all 12. And another thing you need to note is now for our conditions, we're doing farming plot 2 start for this first condition, and we're doing farming plot 2 done for this third page condition. And on the third page, all we're changing is all instances of 1 to 2. So if plot 2 seed type equals 1, all of this will be the same. Another thing we're changing right here are the switches and the variables at the bottom. Control switch, farming plot 2 done off. Control variables, plot 2 seed type is 0. Change this one from plot 1 to plot 2, seed type is 2. Change this, the same thing, farming plot 2 done off, farming plot 2 seed type 0. Change plot 2 seed type, same, so forth and so on. When you get done with all of that, you can copy that event, paste it over, make it so that this is 3, and everything is just rinse and repeat at this point. Once you understand how it works, it's not super complex, it's just a lot of little things. So hopefully you like this tutorial. It seems like a whole lot of things, but break it down into small parts. The best tip I can give you is make this simple note document. If you want to use colors or item icons, it helps you stay with the format and everything is consistent, and you don't have to close out of the event and go to your database and go back to your event and so forth. It just makes it a lot easier to have a nice little notepad to look at with everything is drawn out, and have a vision at the beginning of it. How many different plants do you want to have? Do you want to have 5, 10, 12? How many different plots do you want to have? Do you want to have it like a Harvest Moon type game where you have like 50 plots? Well, you'll have to allocate 50 common events for that. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful. I know it was a little bit longer, but I think it's a really awesome system, and I hope you think so too. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy this, please like, favorite, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. You guys are very important to me. That's why I share these systems with you guys. And as I make improvements on these systems, I will update you guys on things to make them better. So thank you guys once again for watching. We will see you in the next tutorial.